Hey, coach, I know you guys evaluate your team in practice every day, but just curious, what do you hope to gain as a staff out of this red-white game, and then just the overall anticipation of playing in front of the home crowd for the first time with this group?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're still in an evaluation period. I think we're pretty good right now. When we have drills, but then I think when we go live, we still have to learn to take our drill work into live action. We got a long way to grow. Um, the red and white game will give us an ability to go back and watch film, evaluate. But that's what we do every day too, Curtis. So it's like, you're watching these guys on a daily basis. We've taken more stats this year than any other off season. We're charting everything. And it's really given us what I think is a really fair evaluation, because we have, when we do 5-on-0 drills, we're charting shots. When we go live, we're taking full stats. Again, just some things that we haven't really done this detailed in the past, but we've got to become a much better shooting team. I've been saying that for a long time, and it has not changed. It's actually, the numbers have remained pretty steady. So we've got to be a great free throw attempt team. I don't know if I answered your question and went off base, probably, as usual.
No, you did. That's perfect. I think this is the first time we've talked to you since the schedule was officially released. Just curious your overall thoughts on Ruta's work and how it all lined up. On paper, it looks like a challenging slate.
Yeah, I think it's really challenging. I think it's one of the hardest schedules that we've been a part of, if not the hardest. Obviously, the Maui field, really challenging. We're really young, and not only are we really young, but we have a lot of new pieces, and so we're continuing to try to improve some of the simple concepts that we have had in the past with our closeout techniques. We still haven't grasped that the way that we need to. So if we had 5 more months of training camp, we probably still would need more, but the schedules are upon us.
Courtney?
Hey, Coach. Just a couple of questions from me. I'm curious to get your thoughts on how Pro Day went. Obviously, a lot of good things coming out about that. From your standpoint, as a coach, did anyone stand out to you? Were you surprised by anyone's performance? How did it go?
Yeah, Pro Day was great. I think the number one thing from our coaching staff is, how do we put the players in the drills, and then in live action that the scouts want to see. And so we reached out to almost every team, a little bit unique, and asked them what they wanted to see. We asked them, what do you think of this drill? So we tried to do as little coaching, as little coach voice as possible, and as much evaluation, whether it's a shooting drill that could be evaluated for the NBA level. We did only drills that you would see in an NBA setting. We didn't do any drills that what I would consider, college type drills. So the feedback was really good. And as usual, depending on who you talk to, once the Pro Day was over, you got a variety of good feedback on certain players, and certain teams will always like certain player, and others will like another player. But we got really good feedback. Just little details about the books that we put together. for the NBA people is a little bit different, a little bit more detailed with bios, measurements already in the book, so that we weren't doing those in front of them, and we could get to more live action. Creating uniforms for Pro Day make us a little bit unique from a professionalism standpoint on how we wanted to look in front of, from the coaching staff gear to the players gear. But I think it was a real good success, and it allowed our players to perform under some pressure as well.
Awesome. And just one more question for me. I want to get your thoughts on the Texas exhibition game, because we talked to Coach Beard and he was super grateful that you guys agreed to do that game. What challenges does that present for you guys right off the bat? I know it's just an exhibition, but it's a great one to start off, to kick things off with.
Yeah, we wanted to play on the road, because we have so many new players and 6 freshmen that have never traveled as a collegiate player. And then we have a lot of transfers, obviously, that have never traveled with us. So 11 new travel members out of our 13. We played Coach Beard when I was at Nevada, and that game went into overtime. His teams are always really, really tough, physical. He has a really mature team this year. If you look at the age difference, quite a drastic age difference in our 2 rosters this year, which I think will prepare our guys. But the one thing, at least in our opinion, in our offices, they're as well coached as any team in the country, and they play with a tenacity and a toughness that is oftentimes unmatched. So we feel really fortunate that we were able to get this game in. We feel fortunate that it's a road game because this group needs that, because these games in Hawaii are coming after only 3 home games. So I think it's a great opportunity for our guys. And like I said, especially because they have some 5th-year seniors and some guys that have played in a lot of big games. It'll be a really good test for our younger roster.
Thanks so much, Coach. Appreciate it.
Hutch.
Yeah, Coach, you mentioned you're charting everything this year more than ever before. Has anyone in particular stood out, maybe a particular player's aspect of a game that has surprised you?
I don't really think so. I mean, I think that there's some ebbs and flows to everything. Some guys have played maybe in practice leading up to the foreign tour, played well, and then you guys everybody on this call and our fans got to watch on live stream what happened in those 4 games. So that was another body of work. And then we've divided it into 3 segments. And then the 3rd segment would be post foreign tour, how guys are. So we have cumulative stats, which means everything we've done since the first time we got together. And then we also have stats just from 4-game European tour, and then another set of stats post. The one thing I can tell you is, from a consistency standpoint, we're still in search of that. We have had guys that played really good in the foreign tour, maybe not had the same sets of numerical statistical categories that fall in line with post and pre-foreign tour, which obviously is, some guys are better practice players, some guys aren't. And that all falls into certain categories.
And having that foreign tour, having all that, statistical data you talked about in the exhibition game against Texas, do you think all that's going to help maybe speed up the process of like learning your team faster than maybe you do, early on in seasons and years past?
I mean, I think that was the reason that we're devoting so much time charting everything. I mean, for a lot of reasons. One, if somebody's inner circle's wondering why they might not have the role that they, wanted, there's a lot of data, too much data actually for us to utilize. But most importantly, the data is for our own players to see on a daily basis. We give them a daily update, and then we give them a weekly update, and then we give them a cumulative update. So they're getting 3 updates every single day of where they stand, where our team stands, where our team would rank in last year's college basketball. So where do we rank all the times we've been together? 3-point percentage. Where do we rank on last year's NCAA rankings? Where would we rank on deflections? As opposed to the 3 prior years to here. So I think it gives us a good barometer of where guys are, and maybe 6 guys have really established themselves, and we have 4 bigs that are still fighting out how that rotation is going to spill out into the first couple games. So not a whole lot of time left after being together for an entire summer, an entire September. So a short window now to try to solidify where they might be to start the season.
Scotty?
Eric, you kind of funneled right into my question. I was curious, like leading up to the red-white game.
Hopefully I didn't fumble, but
What's that?
I said, did you use the
No,
word fumble?
funnel.
Okay.
Sorry. It led me right to it. I guess just leading up to this weekend, like what's your assessment of the front court? Like what's the competition with those 4 bigs? What's it looking like? What are you seeing from them?
Different things on different days. I think that Makai Mitchell is he's got skill to play the 5, but has some 4 characteristics. He moves his feet really well when we switch. He's quick around the basket. He's got good strength. Mikkel is a little bit more inside, a little bit more physical. Jalen Graham, more finesse as a post-up player, and kind of can play in that 12 to 14-foot range. Obviously with Kamani Johnson, we understand, great loose ball getter, incredible offensive rebounder. But with all of our bigs, it's going to come down to little things like not turning the ball over, understanding second, third, and fourth options. How do they fit into our culture of practice that we do every single day? So a lot of the stuff that we're doing is really new for many of our players, and the pace that we want to play at. So there still has been a learning curve with many of them.
We talked to Nick a little bit earlier, and I think kind of the gist of what he said was Sunday he's just like focused on playing, hooping, and helping his team win. Just kind of seems like he's all business all the time. Kind of what's it like coaching a guy who's kind of got that mentality? He just wants to go play ball and win.
Yeah, I mean, Nick is a competitor in practice. He's a competitor in shooting drills. I'm sure he'll be a competitor, Sunday for the red and white game. And he and Anthony have done a good job going against each other in practice, because we went through a 7-week period where we had both of those guys going against each other, and both of them playing the point guard position. And then there's been times when we've played them together a little bit more of late, and they're playing really well off of each other. So yeah, I mean, I think with all, what we want is, 13 scholarship guys, the 2 walk-ons. We want, incredible intensity in practice, and we're still trying to have those numbers climb from where they are. We had to stop practice yesterday and pull out, a 3-minute Dallas Mavericks conditioning drill that Jason Kidd does with his players based on position. And we'll continue to do more and more conditioning drills this late into what we've considered training camp. Still not satisfied at all with the physical condition of 4 to 6 players that need to get in better condition prior to our first game.
And not to keep just like going back to the charting all the numbers and stuff, but is that like traveling around as much as you did since last season? And did you pick that up somewhere along the way, or is it just like a staff decision? Like we just want more insight on these guys.
Yeah, I think because of so many new people, it was a lot of, really, Scotty, how do we evaluate as quick as possible with numbers, meaning numbers from Dave Rich, our strength coach, because they wear those things. And so we have it monitored where everybody ranks every day, where they monitor on how many jumps they do a day, how many basic steps, or what's the distance that they cover during practice. Then we have the statisticals, and then we have the eye test, and then we're also evaluating on execution. Is a guy getting a 6 out of 10 from an execution standpoint, being in the right spot at the right time, both offensively and defensively. So it's very, very clear where each and every one of our players ranks right now. And so, to us, there's pretty easy where guys kind of fall in line right now.
My DMs are open if you want to send me that stuff.
My DM's open too. I want to know about the women's clinic and any feedback you might have inside your house.
Not a negative thing said.
All right, Bob, sorry, you got time for one long one or two quick ones?
Or
Okay.
one Padre question.
Okay, well, no offense. We can talk about that later. But for the third time in 4 years, you're going to have the red white game in Barnhill. You obviously like having it there. What is it you like about being in Barnhill?
Just a great environment. It, I think people like being in there. I mean, I think it's an awesome arena. Kind of pays a little bit of, tribute to what's happened in the past. We're able to talk to our players about the history of it at some point before we step foot in there. Just watching the old footage of games that have played in there from a historical standpoint, it's awesome. I probably like it more than anybody else because, there's a little bit of extra work that goes into playing the game there, from trying to anchor down the baskets, and there's a few more lines on the court than there used to be. So, it's, not easy for everybody to pull off playing in there, but I love it.
I love it too. And then pro day, but both Nick and Jordan said you sort of prepped them, told them what to expect. And they both, of course, they're both projected pretty high picks, but they said they just sort of approached it like a practice, weren't nervous. Just how'd you prep the guys for that? And just how'd you feel like everybody just handled that aspect of it? Not being overly nervous or anxious or whatever.
Some guys were nervous. Some guys were anxious. A couple guys even had mentioned it to me. One texted me the night before, but it was just a constant communication leading up to pro day. It was discussing what they're looking for from body language standpoint. We talked to them about the fact that, hey, this is just one piece to the puzzle. It's 1/100th of the evaluation period. After pro day, I brought everybody in the locker room and said, hey, there's some guys in here that might be really happy with how they produced, and there might be some guys that are disappointed. But rest assured that anytime I've been in a draft room, pro day is a very small portion of what's being discussed on a player's evaluation, if it's even brought up. So there's so much of a body of work that guys have to go through. And, the main message is, let's get ready to have a really good college basketball season. Let's worry about getting better as an individual player. Let's worry about getting better as a team. Mock drafts mean zero at this point of time, because all you got to do is look back a year ago and see what it looks like and how it pans out. And there's, you got to be a really good college player to solidify stuff. And so we've just talked to all of our guys, whether it's a returning player, whether it's a transfer, whether it's an incoming freshman, about, hey, it's a long season. We're all going to go through ups and downs, and We're all going to go through a learning curve, and how do you pace yourself so that we're all, running as fast as we possibly can and playing at the pace and playing the right way towards the end of the year.
All right,
Thanks.
Coach, thanks for your time. Appreciate it.